Hi. This week, there were multiple news reports that indicate 2021 could be an inflection point for the adoption of electric semi-trucks. Tesla posted 3 jobs on the semi-truck production lines. GM announced a deal this week with Navistar to team up on hydrogen fuel cells, and the Biden administration doubled down on their commitment to confronting climate change by announcing its plan to replace all federal government vehicles with electric vehicles. There's a lot of movement in 1 week for alternative fueled vehicles, so I'll break down what it means for the trucking industry. Today I'm going to cover where the US currently stands in electric heavy-duty vehicle adoption and what some of the barriers might be, the history of electric-powered semi-trucks, and what we can expect from lawmakers and manufacturers. And stick around until the end so I can tell you how my trucking company will adapt and adopt to the electric truck revolution. Look at this thing. Leafy little bastard. It's a good strawberry. Before I dive in too deep, let's get on the same page about what an electric truck is. In the passenger car market, there are 3 main categories. BEVs.
Come on, lazy buns, let's earn that stuffing.
No, not that BEV. BEVs, or battery electric vehicles. This includes Teslas, Nissan's Leaf, the Volkswagen e-Golf, cars that must be plugged in to charge and use only energy stored in batteries for their propulsion. Then there are PHEVs, or plug-in hybrid vehicles. Those include the Chevy Volt, the Volvo XC90 T8. PHEVs can be charged both through plugging into an external source as well as through regenerative braking and internal combustion engines. Because of the extra charging they get from the external sources, they can actually go further than standard hybrids without the gasoline engine switching on. Last, there are HEVs, or as most of us call them, just hybrids. This is Toyota's Prius hybrid or Honda's Civic hybrid. These cars are not plugged in and rely only on regenerative braking and the internal combustion engine, as well as software to determine when is the best time to turn on the gasoline engine. Usually these vehicles will go just a couple of miles before speed or load increases and the gasoline engine becomes the more efficient choice. In the Class 8 electric truck market, things are actually a bit simpler for now. There are 2 primary competing technologies. BEVs, that is fully electric truck that must be charged by an external source, or a hybrid option, but it's not a gasoline electric or even a diesel electric platform, but a hydrogen electric platform. Some manufacturers are investing in both technologies, relying on the battery-only option for city haul or short haul applications, and then the hybrid option for long hauls or a longer-term play as the technology develops. Where are we today? Well, excluding the standard hybrid vehicles and just focusing on plug-in hybrid and plug-in battery-only vehicles, there are over 7 million electric vehicles on the road today worldwide. This number has exploded since the cars came onto the market back in 2010, and the leader in electric vehicles worldwide is China, with 47% of all sales. Many of the bus fleets in China are near fully or fully electrified, and most of the 500,000 electric buses in the world are in China. Outside China, the biggest electric bus fleet is in Santiago de Chile, and Europe also has about 4 times the electric bus registrations as the United States. The landscape looks pretty similar when you're examining the commercial truck distribution, with China again leading the way with about 380,000 commercial vehicles in circulation. Similar to the passenger car and bus adoption of electric vehicles, there has been significant increases in electric truck sales, with the 2019 totals coming in at a record-breaking 6,000 units. We are seeing new options come to market regularly, as well as high-powered charging infrastructure being developed and standardized across the globe. Reaching critical mass in the replacement of internal combustion engine trucks will require more than some cool LEDs on the grille. We can look to countries like China that have led the way for how to incentivize the change, as well as get some tailwinds from the work being done to increase market share of electric passenger vehicles. The public is getting used to seeing electric cars on the road. Drivers enjoy driving them. There are also long-term goals set by state and federal governments to reduce tailpipe emissions and increase fuel efficiency, as well as goals set by large companies to do the same. The public has an interest in clean air and water and has shown that they will vote with their wallet when making purchasing decisions. Battery technology also continues to improve, as well as software for managing energy distribution on board the vehicles. All of these factors have added a lot of clarity to the product roadmaps for major truck manufacturers and startups alike. The need for a cleaner alternative to the diesel engine is clear when examining the data. In 2019, 70% of heavy-duty vehicles sold worldwide were sold in countries with emissions or fuel economy standards in place, compared to just 50% 3 years prior. That's a big improvement. However, the overall emissions have continued to climb by 2.6% every year since the year 2000, in spite of emission standards, due to the high growth of the number of trucks on the road. Truck manufacturers have acknowledged that there is no path to reaching emissions or fuel economy goals by continuing to incrementally improve on the diesel powertrain. I think most drivers and fleet owners would agree that the incremental improvements are doing more harm than good. I know I have a truck with a DPF filter right now that is headed to the shop for cleaning. The truck manufacturers are now in a race to get to the market the fastest and with the best technology. With a completely new technology also comes newcomers to the market. I think that those of us in the industry, both drivers and fleet owners, are going to benefit from new innovation. When I look at my fleet of PACCAR built trucks, I see technology, finishes, and styling straight from the 80s and 90s, even though I have late model equipment. With startups entering the space, both incumbents and newbies will start to push the envelope. So who has an electric model on deck? Volvo, Scania, PACCAR, Daimler, Lion, BYD, Hino, Hyundai, pretty much every manufacturer has a Class 8 truck either on the road now or soon to be on the roads. This isn't vaporware or something that could happen, but something that has already happened, and we get to decide how we adapt. While this is the first time we're seeing widespread electrification using batteries in Class 8 trucks, this is not the first time we've seen a change in the powertrain of semi-trucks. To explore how the conversion went last time, we need to back into the trucking time machine. The first semi-trucks on US roads were car haulers. Well, they were actually just cars with a cart to pull another car. So they were powered by the same fuel as cars, gasoline. For 20 years, the trucking industry developed and trucks on the road became more and more common with heavier payloads and longer trailers. So by the 1920s, advances in the diesel engine gave trucks an efficiency boost of up to 40%. Those early trucks were getting about 3 miles to the gallon. That's about the same as an M1070. You can bet that there were some super truckers that bemoaned the change from gasoline to diesel, even though they were seeing 40% efficiency gains. The transition to diesel took from 1920 to about the beginning of the 1950s, around 30 years. 70 years later, the time has finally come to modernize the drivetrain again, and it will likely be another 30-year transition. It seems that lawmakers did a similar calculation. Last summer in California, the mandate to truck manufacturers was to sell only electric trucks in the state by 2045, or a 25-year time horizon. And more globally, 17 countries have set zero emissions targets through 2050, a 30-year transition. What happens next in the US trucking market? With state governments issuing mandates for zero CO2 emissions and fuel efficiency, it is clear to manufacturers that if they want to compete, they will need to ditch the diesel power plant. Many existing manufacturers have already started to deliver prototypes, demo models, and even test tractors to fleets. Initially, the trucks that are released will be used for shorter distance moves. The current battery technology has a lot of limitations, and longer hauls would increase the weight past the point of economic viability. There are some companies exploring options to make longer haul trucks viable, like batteries as a service, where the battery can be swapped out, or the investment in hydrogen, so that instead of recharging the truck, you have the power generator on board the truck and convert hydrogen into electricity to be stored in batteries. That technology is not quite viable yet, both practically and economically. So for now, manufacturers will need to test in areas that have a high density of short distance hauls, few variables like extreme weather or hilly terrain, incentives offered to help offset some of the cost of the new innovation, and the winner is Southern California. With the busiest ports in the country, mild weather, and the worst air quality in the United States, there is a huge appetite for solutions, which means grants and legislation that converge for the perfect testing ground. Daimler has 38 of their e-Cascadias in the market now, with Penske and NFI doing moves from seaports. PACCAR is partnering with Toyota on fuel cell technology, also testing in sunny Southern California. BYD, a Chinese manufacturer, has delivered 21 trucks to Anheuser-Busch for beverage delivery to retailers. In 2021, Hino, a division of Toyota, and Hyundai will both demonstrate their fuel cell trucks in the US. Tesla plans to start manufacturing to fill orders already placed by Walmart, FedEx, UPS, Ryder, PepsiCo, Anheuser-Busch, and J.B. Hunt. And within the next 2 years, Volvo and Lion, a Canadian electric truck maker, plan to begin fulfilling orders. While Southern California has some incentives in place, there are also some clear market incentives. The customers that have placed orders are not sticking to one brand, and you can bet that they will be operating trucks from as many manufacturers as possible to select the one that is right for their fleets long term. Amazon placed a 2,500 unit order with Lion, which is a transformative opportunity for that company. So the market conditions are favorable for a new crop of electric trucks. What are some of the headwinds to a quick and painless conversion? Elon Musk has said a few times that there aren't enough battery cells to start Tesla semi-production. That's not entirely true. It is true that cell manufacturing is a constraint, but what the boy genius is really saying is that opportunity cost is too high to put the finite cells into the semi. He has stated that, and I'm paraphrasing, the truck needs 5 times the cells as a passenger car, but it would not sell for 5 times what the car would sell for, so it just doesn't make business sense. If there were enough cells, there is still a practical issue. The energy density of the current generation of batteries means that there are diminishing returns as trucks approach the 600 miles of onboard capacity mark. The US long-haul trucking industry has regulatory guardrails on the amount of time a driver can drive as well as the amount a truck can weigh. To maximize both, batteries need to be light enough to not consume the available payload and last long enough to drive for the full 11-hour drive clock. Often that means 600 miles or more. Right now, even though the weight of a diesel engine and 2 100-gallon fuel tanks are being removed from the tractor, the net weight is still plus 2 tons. In addition to the technology and supply chain limitations, more will be needed from the federal government as well. For widespread long-haul adoption, the market needs more than a patchwork of efficiency wish lists, which is where we are now. Just like China has done, during the transition period, there will need to be a shift of subsidies from very established industries, for example, oil and gas, to other propulsion technologies. Some other incentive ideas might be purchase subsidies, low interest loans, no fee parking, zero emission zones, license fee exemptions. There's also going to be a second order effect on the resale value of internal combustion vehicles. So a cash for clunkers type of program might need to be investigated. State tax models will have to be adjusted. I know I spend a lot of capital on these IFTA stickers every year. How will fuel taxes be calculated if I buy no fuel? You've probably already guessed that I welcome electric trucks with open arms. The idea of no longer having diesel-soaked gloves or the noise and vibration of the engine wearing out drivers is only a benefit to me. The bigger decision I need to make is how early of an adopter do I want to be? Back in 2017, when Elon introduced the Tesla Semi, I was really excited. And as I've set the strategy for Rollzi, my company, I've kept emerging technologies in the forefront of every decision. From the operating area to the shippers we work with to how I hire for roles both in and out of the truck. My company is in a fantastic position to be early adopters of electric trucks, so as soon as some of the aforementioned barriers have been identified with a path to overcome them, you will see electric trucks in our fleet. You might have seen an earlier video in which I talked about the automation of trucking, and there is an intersection where automation and electric trucks meet. Running the computers and sensors required for operating a vehicle and some higher level of automation requires electricity, and having more of it on tap will accelerate these technologies coming to market. But there are other synergies that can be realized. For example, the increased range of the current generation of batteries. Instead of focusing on the battery, some manufacturers are focusing on the drag coefficient, or how aerodynamic the truck is. One way to decrease the drag is a technique that cyclists and race car drivers use called drafting. In trucking, the idea being floated is platooning. With some control being handed over to the automated system, platooning becomes safer and the efficiency goes up. So again, whether it's 30 years from now or in the next 5 years, I'm making decisions today that will let me double down on these exciting new technologies. Every month, there are new ideas coming from some of the smartest people in transportation, and with every new idea, it's my responsibility to ask if I can incorporate it into my model. In the case of electric trucks, the Rollzi values of do the right thing and take the long view are guiding my thinking. Do the right thing means, for Rollzi employees, offer drivers the best experience we can. And I think that electric trucks could be the superior tool for a driver to do their job. It means do the right thing for the planet, and zero tailpipe emissions are unquestionably better for the air and water. While understanding the manufacturing and disposal of battery technology, of course, it needs to be weighed. But lastly, doing the right thing means doing what's right for our customers. I've talked in this video about how Amazon, Anheuser-Busch, PepsiCo, and others are placing orders for electric trucks. I'd love to be a link in their supply chain that helps them realize their zero emissions goals. Another of our values is taking the long view, which means Sometimes trade-offs must be made. I might have to turn down a load paying $10 a mile that delivers 200 miles off of our main lane because of lack of charging infrastructure. Or it might mean an upfront investment in new equipment, even though we could get away with diesel-powered trucks for a few more years. How do you think about new technologies as they enter the market? Are you an early adopter, or were you burned by your laser disc collection and want to wait and see how all this battery versus hydrogen business shakes out? Feel free to start a conversation with me in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I invite you to roll with us on this channel, and as always, keep the shiny side up.